for them to see in just a second. I'm going to run upstairs, and then I've got a couple final updates to make to this document. So I command you, entertain them.
I'm not entertained? What is this?
You're not entertained?
Right? Where are they?
I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
here.
normally I'm leading the early brigade, so
It's true.
somebody needs to step up over here.
I feel like most of the time the first person I say hi to is you, in fact.
You can almost see me tapping patiently.
So Robert, I've got Kayla and Kristen so far for 3 out of my 5 for that one shot.
And fingers crossed.
And possibly a 4th and 5th. Waiting to find out. But it's gonna be June 30th.
June 30th. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because I didn't realize my son has a soccer game next week, so I'll be in Lansing late, unfortunately.
That is going to be epic.
Yeah, and what I'll do is once I figured out who the 4th and the 5th is, I'll post the 5 classes, because you're all kobolds, so then people can choose.
Keep your fingers crossed for me.
Yeah, Evelyn's a possibility and Rory's a possibility.
Actually, this will be the first time that, interestingly enough, it'll be the first time that Kayla and I think, are on the same side of the table.
Nice. All right.
She's run a game. She ran a game with me as a player, the first of the Sunday one-shots while John was gone, and I ran the game for her
at BlueBoxCon.
Yeah. Yeah,
They are. Hello, beautiful people.
It's a fun little. I mean, you guys are kobolds, so I mean, what more can I say about it?
What? I guess.
And one of them's an old lady, so we'll see who gets the old lady one.
Oh, that's going to be a stretch for me to do. I can come up with some kind of kobold voice, maybe.
Right.
Even then, but doing a little kobold lady is yeah.
Yeah, I figured I'm gonna do these one shots on Wednesdays, like every other week, just to kind of continue to practice my DMing of PF2E, because I'm still learning it. But one shots will allow me to kind of screw up royally.
Listen, I told my players on Friday nights when we first started doing Castle and Crusades, I've had played it all of twice before, Friday Night Crusade started. It's like,
right.
Yeah, no, we will be learning together. So,
Oh, and I meant to thank, I don't know if I did, I might have, but I meant to thank you for the gift subs the other night. Much appreciated.
Want to get you started off on the right foot. Heck
yeah.
I have to admit that is the circus one. That is a very, very interesting concept.
And I learned some things. I'm excited to so some of the things, again, still kind of getting used to, but I learned some things on how to make some things run a little more smoothly. And our players are still getting their other than Evelyn, still kind of getting their feet under them regarding being in front of people. So I think that'll come with time as well.
What, being in front of people?
Yeah.
I'm never in front of people.
In front of a screen. The people are the fact that there are a bunch of voyeurs out there just happen to be commenting on your every move.
That's not
Pay no attention to the multitudes on the other side of the screen.
Oh, and did you see you saw the video of Evelyn's whack on Twitter that I put up?
Whacked her on the head.
I was there for the first time too.
I know. Oh.
I'm like, new business model, beating up on your customers. Okay.
They were drunk and rowdy and causing problems. we had to get them
That's
out.
a good question, Robert.
Robert. The yard looks magnificent. All the little blades of grass crying out in pain. Oh my God! But they did so beautifully. I honor their sacrifice by walking my dog out there.
Hey, John.
Yes.
Wild would like to know why My Little Pony Tales of Equestria is not listed as one of the things being talked about. I think it's a valid question.
I mean, who asked that? I missed it.
That's Blood Wild.
Steve.
Oh, Steve. Yeah, I don't know. Steve's been on a roll lately. He's on fire. Good to see you tonight, Steve. And I can assure you, I say I can't be bought. I could be bought for that. There's a number there somewhere.
I mean,
yeah.
I have the game box here if you really want to do it.
We just get Steve an internet connection so that he can come on and talk about My Little Pony to his heart's content.
Yeah, Evelyn just called my bluff. No, that's okay, Evelyn.
Yeah, I'm a big My Little Pony fan myself.
So how about those anti-paladins?
Oh no!
Have you realized how wrong you were, Robert?
Oh no! I remember Lord Gazumba agrees with me.
Well, yeah, that doesn't mean anything. That's just one man's opinion, Robert. I hit you with.
And Robert, you have to answer. That means everything.
If you have one man's opinion, the guy's been running the game for 42 years straight.
Well, yeah. See, that just shows lack of imagination. I've been running different games for over 40 years. That's.
Shots fired!
No, come on. Everybody knows there could never be a shot fired between Jay and I. Okay. Well, all right, so let's see here. I'm just going to shortcut the rest of this because we're not going to have time for that. Bum, 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 bum. All right, and then this. You guys didn't have to stop talking. Go ahead, talk.
Oh, sorry. Chatter.
So how about that thing with the stuff and things?
Oh yeah. So I have news for later.
You have news.
Okay.
Yes, there is news.
I'm excited about the news, but I don't know if anybody else, either in chat or here, follows TikTok as much as I do. But huge D&D blow up argument on D&D TikTok past couple days.
Yeah, I saw that.
This
saw that.
guy who went by the name Dungeons or Dragons, he actually deleted his account. Came out and pretty much told people that metagaming was necessary to be better at the game of D&D. And to say that every TikTok that's D&D based that I've watched over the past 2 days has related to that comment would be an understatement. It's been crazy.
Okay, well, I want to talk about that. We're going to kick off the show and welcome everybody, all of our Blue Box fans, friends, mad chatters alike. And we are joined tonight by three members of our great crew here. We have, of course, Evelyn, as always. Thank you, Evelyn. And then we have Terry Machik, who also joined us last night for our GHA session where we rolled up new PCs. If you did not watch that, do not fear. The old PCs are neither dead nor gone. This is for the interweaving of the different stories of Greyhawk Awakening, and as was pointed out to me last night, I could be a little bit clearer about why I'm doing that, so I'm going to talk about that in just a second. And then also I'm joined tonight by Robert. You know him as Phantom NJ. Thank you for changing it from Kel. It was so hard remembering Robert, Phantom NJ, and Kel in our Discord.
It was long overdue.
And Robert, of course, not only a huge member of our community, longtime fan, runs Friday Night Crusades, but is also going to be starting his own campaign here. And so we're going to talk about both of the campaigns these guys are running tonight as well. We're also going to see, as you see up on the screen, oh, great. Just in time for a commercial from my YouTube stream here. Sorry. I'm playing, as always, the doleful tones of Adrian von Ziegler. And you love those ads that you can't skip, too. So we're going to talk about both their campaigns, as we did last night. And as you can see up on the screen, we have the Mad Chatter cheer and channel changes. And that is all a result of the conversations we had last week right here on Loremaster's Arcanum. And I asked the questions, the Mad Chatter spoke, and I believe we have answers that people are going to like, and there's a little bit of room for tweaking. So we're going to go through this, and then also talking about the editions, the newer versions. So we're going to talk about Pathfinder 2, which Terry is running. We're going to talk about Castles and Crusades, which is by our sponsor, Troll Lord Games, and Robert's really going to help us talk about that. And then we're all going to share in the discussion about 5e. And we want you, our chatters, to be part of this discussion. So questions that you have about the different versions, I know I have some, and ideas that you have, opinions that you have on these. As you know, we always want to engage our chat on our streams here at Blue Box. And I will talk a little bit later about the upcoming streams, some exciting things that we have going on. And so stay tuned. It's going to be a strap up. It's going to be an action-packed, just a little over an hour. These Loremaster streams typically don't go terribly long. And as you know, we're going to raid into Lord Gazumba for his regular Tuesday night stream after. Now, I will also mention, I've teased these once or twice. Tonight, we will be giving away these beautiful Gary Con dice I got. Luke, whoops. Oh, that one broke. No, just kidding. Luke Gygax and the Gary Con team sent these out to those that DM'd for Gary Con. And so all of this stuff came from their partner, which is, hold on, I got the little piece of paper right here. Nope, that is part of Thomas's stuff. Right here, this group, Dice Fanatics. And they gave these to us as part of the Gary Con event, and I'm giving those away to a Mad Chatter tonight. All right, so with all that said, Evelyn, did I miss anything in the chat we need to address before we get started?
I didn't see anything.
So you just said all the chat's been bad to this point?
No, it's been great. It's just nothing.
Nicholas was curious about 4E,
Oh, yeah, Josh, absolutely. I'll tell you what, if you'd like to talk about that, I'll get you on stream. We can do that at 2 o'clock on Sunday morning. How does that sound? 2 a.m. Sunday? Would that work?
And listen, I DM 4E. Do not tempt me with that threat, because I will take you up on it.
Robert, you're just contrarian anyway, so no one's surprised by that. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the Mad Chatter channel and changes stuff in a few minutes. I want to give a chance for more folks to pop in as people file in from work and get online. So let's start with this discussion of editions. And Terry, I want to start with you. It was on the tip of my tongue last night to ask, and we just didn't get to it, why you have chosen Pathfinder 2 for the new campaign that you're running. And I don't ask that like, why did you do that? I really am curious. What was it? Let me even frame it this way. 5e is the de facto standard for people that are starting new campaigns and aren't married to some other edition. 5e also has D&D Beyond, which is a tool incomparable to anything else that I've seen, and yet you chose Pathfinder 2. Why?
So actually a couple of reasons. I think to begin with, one of the things that really interested me was the 3-action economy that they use, rather than how D&D does it with you have your action, your movement, your reaction, bonus action. All of those are separate pieces. And so in Pathfinder 2e, you get 3 actions on your turn. You could choose to move 3 times. You could choose to move, attack once, and grapple. You could choose to recall knowledge, which becomes very big in Pathfinder. When you recall knowledge, you can actually find weaknesses amongst the enemies that you're fighting. And so this idea of 3-action economy and the way it could be used made the actual battle more interesting. It didn't feel like you just run up to something and whack at it, and all you do is stay there and whack at it, which I found, especially in 5e, in the campaigns that I've been a part of, that's what we do. We run up and we hit it a lot. Flanking is also used in PF2e, which I think is really interesting. Using cover actively, you can actually, for one of your actions, use essentially a hide action, which can put you in cover, which gives you advantage against your enemy and disadvantage for your enemy on you. And so this 3-action economy I felt was really interesting, and I wanted to play with it, and so far I've been impressed with it.
Okay, so I like that answer. It's a great way to start. I thought you might say something like that. Now, first of all, when you refer to just most games that you play, whack up, hit. Is that what you're saying you felt in my Greyhawk Awakening campaign?
Okay, so I'm going to throw something else.
Yeah.
out. Yes, because in Pathfinder 2e, attacks of opportunity are rare.
Right.
So you can move away from something in PF2e, so the use of movement is not such a detriment. Whereas in 3.5e, Pathfinder 1e, 5e,
Right.
attacks of opportunity can destroy you. So you're actually it makes more sense to stand there and whack away if you're a melee.
Okay, so let me jump in on that point, and then I'm going to come to Robert in a second. I want to talk about sort of his analysis of Castles and Crusades on this same point. But to be clear, number one, you have multi-action economy in 3.5, though I think it's more clearly delineated in what you've just described. You do have cover options as well. You have rule sets for cover. You can jump behind cover and have an attack. Obviously, if it's probably a melee attack if you're jumping behind cover. I mean, a missile attack rather. And you can disengage. When you disengage, though, you just don't get an attack. So what you're saying is in Pathfinder 2, you can move away from an enemy, still get your full attack, and not provoke an attack of opportunity.
Correct.
Okay. And so you... Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to say, or, a lot of times what people will do is if they're melee, they'll move into range, get their attack, then move away because they know that their enemy has 3 actions as well. And they're forcing them to take an action to move closer because some things require 2 or 3 actions, especially for casters. So a spell might actually require 2 actions. So if that's something to, again, another part of the puzzle as you play.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, I'll tell you what I would push back on that with that as well. There are certain classes and feats in some of those core systems which give that ability to disengage without provoking attack of opportunity and still give you that ability. So to me, there are layers built into some of the systems that we're playing that affect the same thing you're talking about, but maybe that, clumsy oaf, who doesn't have that feat, he's still going to get that attack of opportunity provoked upon him. Now, I will agree with you. I feel like 5e, at least the way I've seen it when I played it, it's too many chunks, too many different things. So I think this idea of not making combat just static, I swing, I swing, I swing, is a good bit of feedback. Now, Jade, Lawful Stupid, he's in chat, and again, it was great to chat with you and your crew tonight, Jade. He mentioned that he hates PF2, and he recently quit a campaign. So I would like to know, not PF2, Jade, why you didn't like Pathfinder 2. Robert, would you please address this same idea of action and movement economy and compare it with Castles and Crusades?
So in Castles and Crusades, it goes very much back to the old style 1E, 2E feel where you're not doing massive movements and multiple attacks at first level. You can basically do half your movement and then attack. And because of the fact that the players, even at full, even though I give them the full hit die value for their class at first level, they're in very real danger of being taken out in one hit. That's happened at full health multiple times. We had it happen last Friday. We've had it happen multiple times since then. The party has always managed to recover and keep the person from dying. So players have to think very, very carefully about what it is they're doing. The saying "only fools rush in." Very, very apropos. It's and it's kind of funny because you mentioned in 5e, just standing there and whacking at it, and kind of one of the things that I like about Castles and Crusades is I like the fact that they're going in and just whacking at it. I like getting back to basics. Now, I really enjoy 5e. I've been running 5e for about 3 years now. I've played, especially during quarantine, I played so many 5e sessions with different dungeon masters, and it's fantastic for high fantasy. I mean, the amount of variety that you can get, it's just incredible. There are times when I just want to get back to basics, and I want it to be a simpler game with less rules, less things to consider. And Castles and Crusades, frankly, does it better than any system I've seen so far. And I'm not even sure it's close.
Very interesting. So I want to dive into that a little bit more. But Evelyn, as someone you've played 5e, now you've at least got one session under your belt of PF2. Of course, you understand.
And I played Castles and Crusades.
And you played CNC in 3.5. So you've gone from just this much D&D experience a few years ago when we met, and now you're getting all the experiences. And yes, thank you. Keep the chat coming. I heard another so I'm still waiting for why Lawful Stupid Jade hated PF2. But then also we just had the comment that PF2 is good at the start. This came from, hold on, I just lost it. Yeah, it's moving. Oh, yeah, from Statler. Good at the start, but as you level up, you realize the numbers are very, very tight. The numbers just keep going up and up and up. So I guess that's sort of an expansion of high power. That can happen in a lot of these systems, by the way. So that's really a job of, I think, a DM to also have a handle on that and make sure that you're monitoring how that's progressing and what you're doing. But Robert, just before I move to Evelyn, I want her to kind of talk about this movement action and the different campaigns that she has seen. What else about it is with CNC that you think makes the rule set, you say lightweight, I could pick up a old school PDF of D&D Basic Edition and have a very lightweight rule set. What makes what CNC has something, that is on par with these new systems, and yet that lightweight works?
Okay, so and I never played the original BX system or even BCMI, so I can't really speak to those. But for Castle and Crusades, what's nice is for Stephen Chenault likes to use the thing. I'll let my players try anything, and the reason they may not succeed, but the reason that they can try anything is because there's only two things to consider. They have basically whatever their class or racial abilities are, and it's it's a very small subset of what you might see in other systems, depending on what the system is. After that, everything is left up to rolls against using your attributes: strength, intelligence, wisdom, all those, and they have what's called prime stats, where a class will have a prime stat and the player can choose an additional one, which gives them a better chance for anything against those stats. Everything else is left up to the castle keeper's discretion.
Yeah, I like that too. That's I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off, Robert. Go ahead.
No, so it doesn't get in the way. I don't have to worry, other than their, like I said, their class and racial stuff. I don't have to worry. Did they take swimming as a non-profession, or what do they know about this? That I can adjudicate that basically whatever makes sense for the game. My players don't have to sit there and worry about choosing a skill that they might use sometime, somewhere.
Sure.
It makes a lot more sense.
No, I like that, and that actually goes to the point of one of the chat folks here that, like, if you take some of the more complex system, with complexity, there's ups and downs to it, right? There's a benefit to it. I get more customization. Even things like you mentioned, like one stat that can be your specialty stat, and you get bonus against that. Those same things exist in 3.5. In fact, I was just looking at a class today for Josh, potentially looking at the Brawler, which is a Pathfinder Advanced class. And the Brawler, which is a blend of a fighter monk, has that ability to, based on certain stats, he gets bonuses on any checks on that stat. So you have that with certain classes. And yes, if you're looking for simplicity, that can get complicated to manage. I think Lisi had a good point. It does have a lot to do with the DM and how it's run. And as Statler said, CNC feels like it's more about the story because you're not burdened by the feats and skills of Pathfinder. Now, I think if you look at the way I run 3.5 Pathfinder, my players figure out pretty quick there's certain skills that don't even get talked about very much, and so they don't focus on those skills. So I think I maybe am doing a de facto simplification in some areas, which may be already sort of happening in the core CNC. Evelyn, I've still got you waiting, but I do want to mention the comment that Lawful Stupid finally popped in here about why he left that PF2 campaign. He said, dear, here goes. The main issue was the way it scales, which was the same comment we had earlier from Statler. For example, it doesn't matter what we were fighting, it always had a better to hit bonus, higher saving throws. So PF2 has a crit system that you get 10 over the person's AC, and it's a crit. For the players that get a crit, 99% of the time it's a 19 or a 20 for the crit. Whereas the enemy has such a high to hit bonus, they end up critting you on a 15 to 20. This is one example. That's interesting. Is that true?
It actually happened to me the other night. I got crit on with a 25.
She did.
Interesting.
Can I?
Yeah.
Just a quick comment on that, and some of it's been happening in chat, so this is just kind of reiterating. But I think one of the things to be said about that really also comes down to the DM regarding that, because there are ways to easily weaken mobs in Pathfinder 2e, where you can take them down a level or down 2 levels. And so I think one of the things that you've got to do as a DM is make sure you're cognizant of that, because one of the things with a lot of the Pathfinder is they have lots of campaign modules. And so, for example, we're doing Extinction Curse. It has all the mobs in there. It has all the information. It is fairly well laid out. But even in some of the notes that I've been reading from other DMs, and again, the other thing, okay, so PF2E came out 2018. So we're only about 3 years in, and one of the big complaints of the early modules is that they were overtuned because they were the writers were still learning the system. And so I think I'm not saying that might have been one of the issues, but I know there are 2 modules that you go on to any of the PF2E Reddits, they tell you don't do it, because once you get up into higher levels, they're overtuned, your players will die.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. And by the way, Terry, what you said there at the beginning of that diatribe was the key. That was a joke. It wasn't really a diatribe. It was an eloquent monologue, sir. But the key is, and fast forward. I'll give a spoiler to everybody in here. It's the same thing I've said every time we talk about additions. It all comes down to what? The DM.
Yeah.
It just all comes down to the DM. A DM can take any system and can make it as easy or complex as they want to. Now, I do think, as someone said earlier, 5e has the ease of all these automated tools that really nothing else can touch. Even something like RPG Scribe, which I use for 3.5 and Pathfinder, which is a really cool tool, it still doesn't touch what D&D Beyond can do. When you come to these base systems, it all comes down to the DM. So now I want to finally get back to Evelyn. Evelyn, 2 things. So 1, please talk about movement economies and how that works. 2, I thought you had a really good comment in there about the richness of character creation. Some people feel overwhelmed by feats and skills. Others of us really like the ability to get in there and tinker and customize, and we enjoy that process, so it makes it, I think your word was, richer. And then thirdly, whatever the heck you want to talk about, because you've waited so long. All right, go.
All right, so talking about at least Pathfinder 2, since I am now playing that one, what I really like about it as a new system is one of the things about playing casters, because I really love playing caster classes. And one of the really cool things about Pathfinder 2 casters is that spells can a lot of spells can take 1 action up to 3 actions, and you can actually make the spell more powerful by the number of actions it takes. So like my heal spell, I can if I use it as a 1 action spell, I can just touch somebody and heal them normally. If I use it as a 3 action spell, my heal can heal everybody in a 30-foot radius of me with that 1d8.
Right.
So that's kind of cool, is giving you the options based on what is necessary in the context of what you need to do right in that moment. And so I think that's really kind of cool. And just the fact that it like the various actions that you do you have so many different options of things to do that aren't just kind of the standard, like you can cast a spell, or you can move, or you can hit with a weapon or whatever, and then you can do that with other games, but I think it lays it out in a way that a lot of games systems don't. Like it makes it very clear, like here's some different ideas of things you can do to utilize these things, which in a lot of other systems you have to kind of figure that out as you go, I guess, whereas it tells you up front, like here's all these things you can do, by the way. Yeah, I mean, as someone who hasn't played it except for once now, I can't speak to the long term of it, but I'm really excited to keep going with it, because I've enjoyed it, what we've played so far. And then as far as like other games go, I mean, I love there are things I love about every game system that I've played in. I loved playing an RCNC game. It was really easy to pick up and play in it when we did the one shot with Robert during while John was gone. It was really easy to pick up. I was able to kind of, you know, once I got kind of the sense of where everything was on my character sheet, it was very easy to pick up. So I can see why it's very appealing to new players in particular. And I've played 5e several times now. I like 5e, D&D Beyond. It is a great tool. And you kind of can't beat it as far as things like that go. But I mean, like, I don't know. It's hard to say because I really love everything. I love the system that we use, you know. I love how we, you know, and as far as like the comment in chat that I responded to already, I love having the option, depending on what my character is and what I want my character to be eventually, to choose skills and feats based off of characterization.
Right.
I'm less building my character for being the most powerful character and more about building it because it's character stuff that I want to do. It's like I could have taken way more useful, like, powerful oomphy feats for Irda, but man, I wanted those wings so bad. So,
well,
like,
come on, let's admit though, flight at any point is pretty oomphy.
Yeah, it's cool, but like, I mean, it was just such a character thing that I wanted to do that I had an idea that I wanted the wings from the get-go, that sort of thing. Like, and so I would be very unlikely to build two characters the exact same way as far as my skills and feats go, because I like to use those things to help add to the richness of my character's development. Yes, exactly. Backstory story choices over everything else.
Yeah, that's right, because ultimately, look, I think that's probably in common for most role players that are in any of the communities we're involved with. You know, when you're, and by the way, this is not an aspersion, I started playing when I was 8, but when you're 13 years old, you know, maybe your goal is to just min-max something and be uber, and that's fine, right? But, you know, once you've gone through a few characters and you realize that they're going to die and they're going to live, and it ultimately becomes more about the story. Now, the fight and the game mechanics, combat is part of D&D, but yeah, there's really no point in min-maxing your character. Now, some other really good comments here. Jester said 5e isn't an RPG system, it's a combat system with RPG elements. There are plenty much better systems for roleplay. Pathfinder 2 gives you so much more flexibility in combat, but it also makes more things difficult to learn and play in the stress of battle. Now, Jade pointed out as another of his criticisms of PF2 that a cleric could heal close to 60 hit points without even having to roll dice if you just built the character right. So this may go to your point, Terry, some of the tuning elements, which, you know, every system goes through that. But I would say the same thing could be said of, for example, 3.5 in Pathfinder combat movement economy. I could very easily add an additional wrinkle. In fact, when I've asked you for suggestions, you've never brought that up. So I think we could talk about ways that could be moved into other systems, and I think ultimately, again, it comes down to this, you know, DMs make the difference. All right, anything else in chat that I've missed here?
So I want to touch on that, on Jester Sean's comment. I'm going to disagree with that. I mean, yes, 5e is very tactical. Not quite as tactical as 4e was, but there's definitely a very tactical nature to it. But to say that it gets in the way of roleplay, I've had the 5e campaign that I've run for friends of mine who I've been playing with since college, you know, 30 years ago. It has been I've been able to get them to do more role play in the last year and a half than I did in the previous 30 years of playing. And it had to do with the fact that they were, you know, we built the backstory based on their character, you know, the things that they had chosen, and they ran with it. They've run with it from the beginning. They just hit level 11 now, and It's been absolutely magical ride to watch players that honestly from a role play thing had previously not.
And that isn't just because you got better as a DM.
I'm sure that has something to do with it, but honestly, it's.
Let me guess.
It's been even when we were playing in the, our in-person campaign. It was 5e. The second we moved to 5e, I was able to get. It was like the lights went on. It just suddenly I was able to get them to try things that they hadn't tried before, and it just pulled it out of them. I'm not going to take credit for it because it's all on that. I've been playing with the same people for that year for so long now. I'm not going to say that suddenly I figured out how to do it. It was them. And
no, I was going to take all the credit for it because the improvement came right around the time you joined our campaign. No, I'll tell you what I think it is. 5e. In a gentle contradiction to Jester, and I understand his point. What I think 5e does when you talk about making it easier for people, it's not just the tool, like D&D Beyond. 5e pre-packages role play elements and things like idiosyncrasies, or you can choose pre-gen backstory things which kind of help you create. So it has these role play Kickstarters in them that you start off the care. Whereas those are things that if you played for a long time or you got a DM that's played for a long time, he's going to coach you through in your character creation process and your build. Like I wish I could record some of the conversations I've had offline with the people that are making the new GHA2 characters, because it's a combination of player, here's what I'd like, DM bouncing ideas off, do you like this, do you like that, do you like this? It's still ultimately the player's choice, but the DM can guide to this rich character that they get so excited about. Whereas with 5e, if you have a DM that maybe doesn't typically do that or hasn't done that, I think it's pre-packaged in a lot of ways with 5e that can help you get started with it. Does that sound right to you, Robert?
I mean,
you could say no.
There's definitely a facet to it in terms of the prepackaged theme. Having a roleplay theme, and there are some people, and I can't. I mean, like I said, dear friends of mine. I've been playing with them for 30 years now. They had the things that they fell back on time after time, and it may just be not entirely sure how something else would play or how it would feel, and I think having a start in their own head where previously, it wasn't quite clear what they wanted to do with the character, having that theme to start from was easier than trying to come up with a concept on, even with my help from scratch.
No, I like that. I agree. And by the way, Mike Disney, there's no hate on 5e happening here. I think all of us like elements of 5e. And what you're looking at on the screen right now, by the way, if you look in the upper right-hand corner, this is the Blue Box D&D Beyond account. And I have all the compendium content for 5e. And I've got characters created in 5e. I think I've mentioned before, the cover art, the production quality, it blows everything else well. WotC's got a lot of money. So there's phenomenal content and information here, and I like a lot about the system. I won't get into, again, tonight what I don't like about the system, because I've talked about that before on other streams, but what I will say is what I don't like about the system, I could just as easily cut out in the way that I've spliced together the system I currently run with 3.5. All right, so I want to skip real quickly now to some of the changes we're making with our channel and cheer points. I think this is going to be fun conversation. I want to take questions on this from the audience, and we're going to get some more suggestions at the end of this. Probably only take about 10 minutes, 5 minutes to go through this. Then I want to come back to this discussion. So I want you guys each to be thinking through. Evelyn, I'm going to ask you to take up the role of the 5e champion on this last question. And then Terry and Robert, where your roles will stand. I want you to think about one more example of the best thing about the system that you like. PF2 for you, Terry, Castles and Crusades for you, Robert. Evelyn, you'll take 5E. And it can't be anything we've already talked about. It's got to be something different. All right, here we go. Again, last week on our Loremasters Arcanum stream, you, our mad chatters, were kind enough to work with us on ideas for improving our chat and channel points. So I'm going to walk through really quickly here some changes that we're making and why we're making them. So first of all, in our current cheer system, Mad Chatters could give 100 bits for advantage or disadvantage, and that could be to the DM or to the players. You could give 1,000 bits to restore PC health and abilities. You could give 2,500 bits to restore party health. And have we ever had that one? I know we've had people give that.
We've seen it once, I think. But yeah, it's been like I think just one time.
No, thank you very much, Lawful Stupid. I see that, and what I'll do is I'll just exit full screen here, and you guys can kind of see. I won't get to my nice animations, but that's all right. I think my ratio is off just a bit on that. Actually, you know what? Hang on. I think I can do this. I think I can take this guy here and minimize
technology.
minimize this. It won't be pretty, but it should get the job done. There we go. All right. So again, current cheers and channel, bits, advantage, party restore, and then on channel points, this is if you've watched, and I looked up the economy of that. I think you get something like, was it 150 or 200 points an hour, but then it stacks if you've watched multiple streams, and when you give bits and subs, and I've never really paid attention to how the channel points work, but I'm sure the viewers know it better than I do. So very similar at the first few levels. You had restoring advantages, or giving advantage or disadvantage, restoring PC health and abilities, restoring party health and abilities. And we've seen all this done. And then you had the merch stuff. So you had the Blue Box t-shirt, which would hit at 100, or the Blue Box mug at 125, and that's the only merch that we had available there. As all of you know that have watched the channel for a while, I've had a ton, and Evelyn, if you don't mind, if you could be, I know there's still chat going on, if there's anything else that's popping up here that we need to address, let me know, please. I've had lots of you asking about a merch store, and I resisted doing that for more than a year because again, I don't do this to make money on merchandise. I like the merch being part of the giveaways that we have, and people get excited about getting them. But the requests have been, pretty significant, and our community's gotten bigger. So you could be watching for 6 months and never win a hoodie if that's what you wanted. So we are launching the new Blue Box channel. Thank you very much to Evelyn and Honeybee Crafter, Danny, and I think others have been involved with helping with that. I think Rory, Mr. Gimbal, has helped with that some also. And we will have a merch store available on that channel. All right, here were the challenges we had with our current system as we talked about last week. Low cost advantages can create a lack of balance. If it's really easy, if people are stacking up, I think 100 bits is it $1? I think it's $1 for 100 bits.
It just moved the decimal over 2 places.
Yeah, so if you think about that, that's just increased by 50% the chance that you're going to get a nat 20 on every roll, as an example. It's decreased the chance by 50% that you're going to get a 1 on your roll. And unless you're being hit with disadvantages, which rarely happen to players, most of the disadvantages were saved for the DM, that can unbalance the statistics. Now, it's supposed to, but when it's too easy, when it's too low cost, that messes with things. No limit advantages can be unbalancing. So we would have at times PCs that might have 10, 12, 15 advantages stacked up. So essentially every roll they're making is at advantage. That's unbalancing. Additionally, lethal crit tables augment this unbalance. We have, as you know, I've always had lethal crit tables. The Middle Earth crit tables were very deadly. Really, Tim's crit tables just give me more creative ways for those crits to be administered. They don't actually make it any more likely that you're going to die. But when you have lethal crit tables, the fact that you not only double the chance of that nat 20, but guess what you also do? You double the chance that you're going to confirm that critical, right, on the roll. So that all of these things together can create a much more lethal environment on one end, but can also create a very unbalanced game for the players because they have access to those advantage tables also. So the likelihood that your BBE gets one-shot crit is higher in the way that we have done it. Now remember, you might be listening right now and go, John, you're stupid. Why did you ever have it this way? Well, when we were smaller and we started out, you didn't have as much of this flow of these things. But as we've grown, because we have such a giving community, and I want to say again, thank you to all of you. We want you to be able to support what we do here, but then it has created this thing which has, I think, influenced the game slightly overmuch. And then the last challenge is we still want viewers to be able to engage and support. We take everything that we get from this channel and we put it back into the channel, and do so, I think, tenfold would be an understatement of the grossest proportion. So it does help when you give, but we want you to engage and not feel like we're trying to pull money out of you, and also not unbalance the game. All right, so here are the new cheers coming from your feedback. So we have some of the old stalwarts, of course. We've just changed the economy. The first is advantages and disadvantages are now 200 bits. So we double the cost of an advantage, but players can only receive 5 per gaming session, and they will not carry over in gaming sessions. Now, part of the problem here that I thought about is tracking. Ultimately, we'd like to get to a visualization on stream. I'm not familiar with the tool that will do that yet, and honestly, I haven't had time to research extensively, but we'll figure out a way to visualize that. In the meantime, we're just going to hold each player accountable. So Terry, for example, will know, hey, Rin has already received 5 advantages. We will announce that to the audience. Hey, Rin has already received 5 advantages. You can give him a cheer if you want, but it's not going to add to his advantage total, and those will not carry over. So the 5 advantages per session will be a limit per player. Now, there's still opportunity for you to participate and give. If you think about it, that's 5 players, 2 each. So there's a lot of advantages that can be given around the game. We have a new ability with 200 bits. You can give +2 to group initiative once per combat. As I was musing on this, it occurred to me, part of our strength and weakness here with the way we run our game is that we use group initiative. I like group initiative, and I've talked about why I like it so much on other streams. But it has the disadvantage of it's very blocky. The party goes, the enemy goes, the party goes, the enemy goes. While that's not my favorite thing about it, there are reasons I think the group initiative adds excitement, thrill, drama, and keeps the pace of combat going. I'm very much about the pace of the combat working well. So with that +2, what that means is it's a more significant advantage than, for example, if I could give Shorewin or Rin or Irda or whoever, I can give them +5 on an initiative. That's for one player in one round of combat. Not as impactful. With a D6 initiative, a +2 on an initiative roll means a 33% bump in their likelihood of winning that combat initiative. And when I say it'll be once per combat, the player or the party chooses when. So here's how that works. If the player gives it, he can say, use it immediately. Or pardon me, if the viewer gives it, player or party, it should have been viewer or party can decide. If the viewer gives it, he can say, use it on the next attack. Or he can say, party chooses when in the combat to use it. So if you have a sense there might come a sort of an ultimate moment in the combat where winning initiative is going to be so critical, and we've seen that in our combats. When you have group initiative and you got 2 players, 2 PCs that are down to 5 hit points, and if the other side goes first, the entire scales could tip. That group initiative could be very important. So this is another way that I think fans can participate, but still keeps the game balanced. And by the way, that group initiative can be given to the DM as well. So you can do the same thing with advantage and disadvantage and the DM. I should have mentioned, there will be no limit on DM advantages or disadvantages. Part of the reason I'm doing this currently is that if you'll remember, the DM should be rolling roughly 4 to 5 times as many times as all the players in a session. So you'd have to give the DM like 20 advantages to equal out to 5 advantages for a player in terms of the impact on the game. Now, if that gets out of hand, we will modify that as well. I'm not doing that so I can break the economy and kill players. I'm doing it because I think it just makes sense to do it that way. All right, you can give 300 bits for a D4 inspiration on a skill check or a DC check. And again, that same 5 per player limit applies. So you can't add +4 to hit. We already are, for an attack roll, because we already have advantage for that. So this is a way for you to impact other types of roles in the game, and it still falls into a very neat and affordable economy. We still have the restoration of health for a PC, but we've removed that it's health and abilities. It's just health. And the DM will decide on when that will occur in the game, and you've seen me do that. If it's right in the middle of combat, I'm not going to suddenly have, when they're fully healed. We're going to figure out ways to make that work in game in order to maintain immersion. With 5,000 bits, you can restore PC health and abilities. There is no party restoration in this structure. I just think that's way too unbalancing. There is a 100,000 bit award. You can force the DM to put a dinosaur in the game if you give 100,000 bits, and of course, I'm just kidding. That's not happening. All right, let's go to, before I move on there, any questions from the players? Because that's very different in some areas than what we have currently. It does require the players to track, how many inspirations and advantages they have, but I think that's a reasonable burden for each player to track. Any other comments or questions on that from the players and anything in the chat? Hey, Thomas, good to see you, sir. Didn't see you earlier. Hey, Keith. Group initiative is working great for Friday night. Yeah, I love group initiative. It's got downsides. You could tell me the reasons it's not perfect, and I would agree with you. But I've played all the different kinds of systems. I've seen every initiative system under the sun. I've played them all. And ultimately, I just came back to the old school group initiative system. I think its benefits outweigh its cons. That's just my opinion. How many bits for the DM to have a Lich cast power word kill on the entire party? Hey, Moose, DM me after this and we'll talk. Will there be any changes to the channel point? Yes, in fact, I'm going to show that next. I didn't have that on this page because there were too many to show on one page because I've added a lot. A Boxosaurus, BlueBoxRPG, yes. And I saw Iculus is in. Where is he? Iculus has the distinction. Many people tease me. And I've gotten many little tiny dinosaurs, some of them accompanied with a lot of glitter, but Iculus actually gave me a really cool T-Rex I've got around here somewhere. You saw him if you were here at BlueBoxCon. Any other questions or hey, concerns? Like any of you guys as players, or you don't play currently in any of my campaigns, Robert, we're going to rectify that, but you DM a lot as well, and you know how our stream works. Any comments or concerns you have about what I've shown here, things I might be missing in terms of balance?
I'm not concerned about balance. My only concern is regulating how people, in terms of people putting in those bits, the potential for multiple people putting them in at the same time and keeping, that may end up getting hard to track.
Well, I think you're dead on. That's why I need to get to a visual tracker. Now, the reality is the number of times that two different viewers give bits to the same player at the same time, I don't know that I've seen that more than 2 or 3 times in all the streams we run. And if it does happen, it's probably in a moment where somebody's in the brink of death and the fans are coming in. So we're just going to deal with that as best we can, and we'll be as clear. And look, this is all subject to change. This is going to be an iteration that we're going to try, but I think it is a step in the right direction. But that's a good point. Terry, Evelyn?
Rory asks, what about a carryover of 3 so end of game gifts are hindered or lost on the side of the viewer? So he's essentially saying, could there be a carryover, say, right near the end, thinking that there was going to be more time? Somebody gives bits for an advantage.
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that, but what essentially can happen here is you could really discourage viewers from giving at the end of a stream because they think that that's going to be lost. Now, ultimately, I don't really think most viewers are giving just so they can, see what. I think a lot of times it's because they are legitimately cheering. They're cheering for their players. They're cheering for the stream. They're trying to support the stream. But that's a good point. So, Evelyn, make a note of that. I'm gonna think about what we can do to create a carryover system, but one that's not burdensome. And that makes sense, because I still want the opportunity for people to cheer in the next session. And if Evelyn, so her character carries over 5, that means by default she can't get any more advantages in the next stream. So let me think about that, but there could be a way to do it. Any other questions that you guys saw or that you have yourselves? Okay. All right, let's talk about some of the new channel point ideas. All right, so we still have and I didn't put the channel points on here simply because I ran out of time today. I had a great Zoom call with our friends from Lawful Stupid, and believe me, nothing stupid about that crew. They brought on a crew of 5 very impressive people. They're our friends from over in the UK, and we're talking about ways that we can continue to work together and collaborate, and I've been just so excited to connect with this group. If you haven't followed them, you should. They run some great streams, including my personal favorite, their Dark Sun stream on Sunday mornings, and they're a great group over there. So I was talking with them, and I didn't get through all the economy of this, but you have advantage and disadvantage still. You have inspiration, D4 on skill checks still, and the same limits apply, but you can use channel points if you don't want to give cash bits. Same thing with restoring the PC and health. Now, I've already put in here the t-shirt that we had before, and all we had was the mug. I've also added the mouse pad. I've had a request that the hoodie be added into it. What else would people like to see with channel points?
Now, is that either hoodie? Does that include the?
Yeah, that would be either hoodie. Yep.
Okay.
Back to here. I'm going to type this in as we're talking. So if you see anything in the chat, I think pretty much everything is up for.
Oh, that's a great idea. Bloodwild asks, can we spend our points to gift items to other people?
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, I need to mention that. So I have a really cool announcement to make.
John, will you get me all of the costs of these channel point changes?
Of course.
I will update them in Twitch.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish this.
I'm making note of everything.
Yeah, I'll finish this and I'll get that out to you tomorrow. So very cool announcement I have to make here. So if you were watching on last night's stream, we gave away the gorgeous Mike Disney Scarn, this guy right here, and I showed him off quite a bit last night. He was won by Mikey B. Mikey B, Siegfried, he has been a long-time viewer and streamer, joins us almost every week. He DM'd me afterwards and said as much as he wants that he has so appreciated the contributions to the community, the effort that's put in, and what has been brought by this individual, that he is gifting, pretty slick, gifting this Mike Disney custom painted mini to our own Robert, Phantom NJ. So Robert, congrats. I just thought, if you're looking for an example of what we say this community is, I just went through our core values last night, and one of them was give as we've been given, and here we have a viewer who wins. This is not just a set of dice. This is a custom painted mini by one of the best artists anywhere in the country, and he, because of his appreciation for what you do for the whole community, Robert, he wanted you to have it. So
that's amazing. I'm just touched. Wow.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And so thank you, Mikey. Thank you. What are you laughing about? What did I miss?
Wick. Set Monkey 13.
A life-size standee of all players. And we might do some fun stuff like that. We could do make the DM wear a dino shirt, or make the DM have a picture of one of the players, right by him while he's DMing all night long. We could do some fun stuff like that. But I think, it's an awesome idea that you can gift these to others. I would absolutely allow that. Anything else that you've seen? Maybe we could add things as we go, like the Cade Cardinal flasks. I know we do so many giveaways here.
The blue box dice.
Blue box dice. Yes, we need some blue box dice.
Yes,
In fact,
we do.
Put that in the notes. We're gonna make that. We're gonna make that happen. You heard it here first. We will have custom blue box dice soon.
We should definitely I don't know, but the blue box stickers and pins and stuff too.
Oh yeah.
For maybe a little
Yeah, we could do. All right, so we'll add that. So put that on. So we put. Let me erase this up. Yes, Jason Zamota, that is exactly correct. This Scarn hand painted by the Mike Disney. We've got pictures of him on our Instagram that do it more justice than I'm doing it here, but the detail, I mean, you've seen Mike's work. It is impeccable. If I weren't already, I would be making a Skarn PC just to use this mini. All right, so we've added here ideas. What do you say?
Winston dice.
Yeah, Winston. So we got, pins and stickers and some of the smaller stuff. And then up here we've got custom blue box dice. We'll get those going. Any other ideas? Help me think outside the box, guys, including our chatters, and we're going to get right back to concluding our edition discussion. I thought it was very good discussion earlier. Any other ideas, like outside the box ideas that we could do here? A fancy D2. It's called a quarter, Rory. Yeah, you can tell from the description, no doubt, Jason. Yeah, Robert will enjoy it.
A full-size Winston would be nice. I would agree with that.
A full-size Winston. All right.
You want outside the box? There it is.
All right. Well, all of my viewers, I don't want to belabor this any further. You can DM me inside Discord if you have other ideas, as long as it makes sense and is consistent with our values and what we want to do here. And what I mean by that is, I'm not trying to, again, I don't want to do things that are, pushing people to give money or pushing people to, I just want it to be fun and things that people want to have. And these channel points I like because, hey, maybe you're in a spot where you can't, spot a 20 for a hoodie, or you can't give bits on a stream. And it used to be fine with me because we had a small stream and we had, 20 people watching. You still had a really good chance to win that stuff. But now as it's grown, I think it can distance members of the community that can give time, but maybe can't give money, and I want to make sure they have that chance to do that.
Celtic War mentioned character art.
Character art prints, yes, great idea. Let me put that up here.
And Jason Zavoda mentioned make a winner NPC in an adventure. That might be something to think about maybe for a giveaway rather than purchased via points.
Okay, I like that. So design an NPC or play an NPC.
No, have that like design an NPC with that player's, you incorporating maybe that chatter's name somehow or something. Essentially, make that player a part of the make that chatter a part of the campaign.
Yeah, no,
Character prints.
I like that. Okay, so signed character. Can you write all these down, Evelyn? Because I'm running out of space and time. So signed character art prints. All right, good. I like that. Winston is outside the box.
To win a slot in one shot.
I saw that slot for one shots. And by the way, there are more one shots coming. We are going to make one shots a more regular part. And I've said this several times, but I'm going to be reaching out to a couple people. We're going to have one coming up in July, and I think you'll see us doing at least one additional stream per month minimum. That's going to be a one-shot stream that we'll do, and I'll do some where I'll run them. I'll run some one-shots. I'll play in some one-shots, but we'll have other members of the community like that we did when I was out for vacation that will have the chance to run and play in one-shots. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. Any other ideas? Yeah, so Statler, I think naming an NPC is what Terry was thinking was mentioned earlier by Jason, but I think both things are right. Like, if you wanted to create an NPC that had to be played in the game, if you wanted to name an NPC, or both after you. So you have the Gladiator Zavoda that's going to be in the game. I think that all would be fun stuff. And we might put some of this in with the cheers options as well, and then others of it I think makes more sense inside the channel points. How many bits to add Balefire as a spell? Oh, thank you, my Robert Jordan reference, Wheel of Time. If you haven't read the Wheel of Time, all 13 books of it, you are missing out on one of the greatest and longest fantasy. Robert, don't shake your head. It is the lore. I know his prose gets lengthy at times. It really does. But man, the story is fantastic. All right. Yeah, Robert, you're so contrarian. I love it.
He makes War and Peace look like Cliff Notes. I mean,
Yeah. No, it just takes someone with patience, Robert. That's all. There's a theme here with your love of systems that are so lightweight. And do you read comic books a lot?
oh yeah.
Yeah. See, I know. No, I like comic books too. All right. So another idea here was introducing a plot point. Yeah, you can, Jason. You'll get credit. You won't have to take it. Oh, there's Mikey B. Thank you again, Mikey, for your gift to Robert. That was super, super cool. And all of these ideas, I think the economy can change vastly in a one-shot. I'm okay with adding a monster in a one-shot. I'm okay with introducing. One-shots are a very different beast than contiguous campaigns with story arcs and investment in backstories, and you don't want somebody pulling a lever because they gave some money and suddenly now you've destroyed a PC's hard work or the imagination of a DM. That's what we're trying to balance here with this. All right. Yes, thank you so much, Mikey. All right, let's conclude our discussion. I gave each of you an assignment, and we have just about 15 minutes to go here. I'm also going to kick off the Nightbot giveaway. I'll let everybody watch me do this again. Any of our DMs on here that haven't used Nightbot, it is really, really easy to use. And I think I have my shortcut for Nightbot installed on my other browser. Let me pull up my other browser. There we go. So one more thing that you really like about your system that you're advocating for, and I didn't tell you this because I wanted you to be more spontaneous, one thing about it that you admit kind of sucks. All right, we're going to start off this time with you, Evelyn, as our champion of 5e.
That we haven't already mentioned?
Yep. Oh, come on, there's so much. All right, you've been helping me mod, so I'll let you think a little bit more. Let me start off with Terry.
All right. Now, a reminder, first off, not necessarily advocating for PF2E, just saying PF2E is something that I'm really enjoying. And so I just want to kind of be clear about that. It may not be everybody's boat, but, there's a lot of things that are not a lot of, like, for example, and this, I don't like football. So you like things, you don't like things. So one of the things that I really am enjoying in PF2E, again, as a fairly new person into this system, is the diversity of the backgrounds and the feats that come from both backgrounds and from ancestries. For those that don't know, they don't use race as a term; they use ancestries in PF2E. And the feats that you can mix and match and combine has been really lovely and has really kind of sparked my imagination on how I can maybe implement some of that into my characters in other games. It's been really fun kind of exploring and seeing what these feats can do, again, per the ancestry or per the background. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. Regarding what sucks for it, that's really tough for me because I'm still so new to it. I mean, that's something that, more than likely I'm going to run into things that I'm going to be like, yeah, this is not to my liking. But my problem is because I am so new to it, it's hard for me to say right now what it is that I don't like. So I don't really have a super answer to that right now. Evelyn, have I said anything about things that I don't like about it? Like I've gone.
Well, did you like, for example, the crit happening on one roll with that 25? If I understood that correctly.
Oh yeah, because you never know when a crit's going to happen now. It's not just a roll of a 20. You can get a crit on other numbers, and I like that because it is more irregular. When you roll that 20, you know that you've got a crit, and that's the only way you can crit in for example, 5e. But in this, you have a chance not only to crit on your 20, which is a crit, it's an automatic crit, but the chance to crit in other ways.
So that's not exactly true, though. Like in other systems, you can crit on a 19 or a 20 if you have improved critical. And I think then also what that's going to depend on in terms of efficacy is the rest of the crit economy. So does PF2 use something similar to 5e? Is it 2x, 3x type criticals?
It's 2x.
Doubled, yeah.
Okay, so see, this is, I think, the point. So a crit is really just extra damage. And so as a result of that, it makes sense that it can be broader because it's not, at least in the context of what many of us discuss, it's not a crit, it's just a really tough blow where you've taken extra damage. So I think that economy can work. If you took something like that and you introduced it into a more deadly crit system like MERP or like what we use, then that, you really do have to have a greater barrier there for what gets you to a crit. So very good point. All right, let's go to you, Robert.
So one of the things I'm really enjoying or really love about it is the fact that watching players with their characters at first level, because they don't have a lot of abilities, using what they do have and just generally being very creative. And I got to do a shout out here because I mentioned that I told the person that I was going to. Lisi, our lead, they are our rock star. Every single Friday Night Crusades is the only person to have been at every single one of them. They're playing a wizard, and because Castles and Crusades uses Vancian magic, they have very limited spells per day. And if they want to use the same spell more than once, they've got to memorize it more than once. Lee has been as creative as possible, as you can possibly be with the spells that they've chosen each day. But beyond that, it's been amazing to watch, doing everything they can to make up for it in other ways. Lee's character has a substantial dagger collection because standing in melee is not a good idea. So throwing daggers, on the other hand, with a pretty high dexterity, has gotten it done, and he's done quite a very substantial amount of damage without casting a single damage spell at times. So yeah, there's that. Now, as far as things, I'm kind of with the things or something I really hate about it. I'm kind of with Terry in the fact that while I've had run a couple of one-shots with players at various levels, 5th or 6th level, I have not had an actual character level in game yet. And as close as I'm coming in, it's not the game, it's just me, is going back to every single encounter having my heart in my throat, worrying that I'm going to kill the entire party because it's been so long since I've had, worried about balancing for this type of game. Asher is playing one of our more tanky type characters, and the one combat we had on Friday, I think it was the first attack against him was a natural 20. I rolled max damage, and the character with probably the highest, if not the highest, second highest health in the party went down in one shot. And suddenly I had to worry about, well, is the entire party going to end up dying here because, their main person was down to 0, 1 hit.
Yeah.
From something that, from a goblin, which in Castles and Crusades is a very, very weak creature, generally speaking, but damage is damage. A 20 is a 20, and that it's like I say, it's just I have to get used to that feeling again with this type of thing. But I love my Friday Night Crusaders. I mean, they are absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to see what happens this Friday because they've got a little thing to work through.
So if you don't know what he's talking about, that's our Friday Night Crusades. That's in our Discord channel. In our Discord, every Friday, we run a one-shot. It's not part of a long-term campaign. Anybody can jump in and join, and then people can come in and watch. It's typically just Robert on video. Everyone else, at least to this point, has been on audio that I've seen. And it's just a fun, light way to enjoy D&D on a Friday night, and I think it's been Robert and I talked about this months ago, and I thought, man, this is such a nice balance with the epic campaigns. And so now if you think about it, we got the long-term campaigns, we got the one-shots that are streamed, but then we also have this super lightweight thing on on Friday nights. I think it just gives lots of different options for our viewers and players. And I do also want to recognize all the players that have been on that, and you called out Lee. Anyone that doesn't know, Lee goes by Lee C in our Discord, but also is LHawk99 in the chat here. It's all the same individual, and Lee has been an absolutely phenomenal member of our community. Was very active at our Blue Box Con. Is on almost every stream. Comes up with ideas all the time. By the way, sent me the nicest handwritten letter after the con. It's sitting right by my office chair, and so just shout out to all the members of our community. But you're well, you said well to call out specifically Lee. All right, Evelyn, I've given you time to talk about
Yes.
5e.
I thought of something! I like that 5e requires magical items to be attuned. Specific magical items that require attunement so that you're not just walking around with all of the most powerful items on at once and being able to get that super buff thing. I think it's really cool that you actually have to make choices about really what you want to have, what you're utilizing to help, you know, make your character do what you want them to be able to do at the time. So
I actually like that
do I
too.
want to be resistant to fire, or do I want to be, you know, right now? So
I like that too. Now, to me, I think that also can, identification is a more challenging thing in some of the older systems and the newer systems. Mm-hmm. So you kind of had a mechanic that had a layer of resistance to actually using the item. But I do think attunement's a clever way to do it, and it makes sense to me. I like it when the mechanics don't just fulfill a mechanical purpose, but that they actually make sense in the context of the roleplay, which that does. Now, give me one more thing you hate about 5e.
I don't like how everything's so simplified. I'm the type of person that likes lots of choices, and you lose a lot of spells in 5e. You lose a lot of, I mean, your clerics only can use one domain instead of two, and those sorts of things. So I miss some of the variety that I have with older editions that 5e doesn't have.
Yeah, no, well, I think that's true. And again, you can make modifications as a DM, but I think when you have to make modifications to adding so much content, that's one of the most challenging things to do. It's easier for me to cut out a rule I don't like, or to introduce a rule I don't like, or a crit table, or an initiative structure. But if I've just got to kind of rip and replace your whole spell system, that's a more problematic effort. So I think if you've watched the stream today. We've talked about stuff that wasn't additions. We've talked about our new tier system and channel points. We'll publish all that. We've been very fair to all the new additions. We've talked about things we like about them and things that we don't. As all of you know, I'm edition agnostic. I play 3.5 MUT system, I think as it was called last night by Robert, because I think it's got everything I would want to have, and I can pick and choose to take out what I don't want to have. And then I just add a couple elements like critical hit tables that are deadly, so my heart is always in my throat as a DM, even when they're 10th level, because I believe it should be at least remotely possible that a 2nd level fighter could put his sword through the eye of a 10th level fighter and just get lucky. And I think that's a really cool part of really aggressive crit tables. One last thing I want to say about I think everybody knows my 3.5 or Pathfinder 1, it's kind of same thing. That is my preferred system, but I like these other systems. I will be playing Castles and Crusades. They are a sponsor, yes, but also really cool people. I've talked to Steven and Chuck, and I like the stuff behind the system, and also what is in favor of CNC. Last thing I wanted to say that I like about the system is that they give away a lot of their content for free, and they develop content for other systems. So if you go, for example, so I'm looking here at their basic Wizards Tower and rule set, but if you go here and you look at it, they've got, for example, let me find it down here, there's places where they've got 5e modules. There you go, Amazing Adventures, 5th edition, preview. So they develop stuff for other systems. They're very open. All right, with all that said, last chance to enter our dice giveaway, exclamation point, GaryCon. Exclamation point, GaryCon. And that is a reference to the origin of these dice. Luke Gygax, for all the DMs, actually gave you a list of options of things that you could get as a result of contributing, and I chose these dice, and they will come with this, I've never seen one of these before, from this very, very cool company. We've got the Dice Fanatic dice measurement tool for pictures, I guess, and then their pin and their logo. So this will all be part of the Dice Fanatics Gary Con dice set. So type that in the chat, and we're going to raid Lord
Hey, John?
Gasumba. Yes, go ahead.
Before that happens, I want to get to the announcement that I had.
Oh, yes.
This has been a long time coming, and I am proud to announce that the will be another Greyhawk campaign that I will be running, and I am going to be running this with Kayla as one of my players, and we're going to be It's going to be run on her channel.
Nice.
Nice.
This came together really quickly. We have the players. We are working on the logistics of it. So this is going to be coming together pretty soon. And I'm going to tell you this right now. It has a very Blue Box has a lot to do with this whole thing going down. Partially because of the fact that I've been DMing for 40 years. I will be the first person to tell you I don't like the sound of my own voice. I'm not in, it wasn't until that playing or running the adventure at Blue Box Con, and then running it again, running another adventure while you were out, that I was convinced that I'd be comfortable doing this on screen. It's just purely me and feelings, but
So we have the emotional music playing here in the background. I didn't time that on purpose, but that's.
So the other part of it is, and the other reason why this is very much due to Blue Box is, if it wasn't for Blue Box Con, Mikhail and I would not be, probably would not be the friends that we are. And it is the community. It was the opportunity to meet everyone, and I love you people. It's just, I keep saying it, but it's true. But it's just, we're going to have an awesome time. It is going to be a Greyhawk, and the campaign is Embers of Empire.
Emperors of Empire. I like it. Well, Robert.
Embers.
Embers. Robert, we love you, and there's absolutely no reason you should not have tremendous confidence. I've watched you. You're a great DM. You're also just a great human being. And you know what? People like to play with people that are good people, and you're going to have a fun campaign. And we've talked about this. I support you fully. The question came up: what system will you be running?
Castles and Crusades.
Okay.
There will be at long last a Castles and Crusades stream.
All right. And so tell us a day and time.
The tentative right now, it looks like it's going to be, we're going to add a third game to the Monday schedule. We're going to be the early game, which will lead into Josh's game, which will lead into Terry's game. So it's going to be a Blue Box Mondays.
I love that. That is so awesome.
Yes.
Blue Box people dominating Monday nights for Twitch. That's really, really cool. And what's smart about that too is you're going to have the raids and the raids and the raids and the raids. And you guys can support each other in the ecosystem. That is phenomenal. Now just don't wear everybody out before Tuesday night's GHA stream. Okay, and then Terry, before we do the giveaway, again, type Gary Con in the chat. Let me see, make sure that you should be able to see here. If you have typed it, you should see your name in this list on the left-hand side there. So all the viewers, if you don't see your name in there and you did type it, let me know. Good idea, Jester. Terry, talk about your stream again on Monday nights.
So Monday nights we are running a Pathfinder 2E campaign, Extinction Curse. Had our first show this previous Monday. We start at 10 p.m. And go 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And go till 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So folks that are West Coast, this is a great slot for you. We are, I've got 4 wonderful players, Evelyn, Ali B, who you all, if you've watched chat, she's in there. and a couple of others. And we had a lot of fun this past week. Make sure you check out twitch.tv/MachikED. You can also find information on my Twitter and on my Instagram. And since we're doing announcements, I'm going to be running a one-shot on June 30th after Loremaster's Arcanum. We're going to be doing a kobold one-shot where all 5 characters are kobolds. So
Bravo.
that'll be another one that I'm going to be streaming just for the funsies. Robert's going to be part of it. Kayla has confirmed and Kristen has confirmed so far. So we've got 2 more out and just waiting on confirmations, but kind of really excited about watching 5 kobolds run around and getting into trouble.
That will be a blast. Lawful Stupid, we're going to kick off the giveaway right now, so if you can hang on for just a second. We're not going to do the roll tonight because we're getting close to the end of time. I love the idea earlier. Monday nights, as we're taking over Monday nights, we're going to say, "Are you ready for some Blue Box?" With all these folks that are streaming on Monday nights. That's fantastic. And by the way, I purposely didn't try to create a network like I've seen others do. I want each of these streamers to have their own channels and their own stuff that they're running and creating, and we're still going to be supporting one another. And the rising tide lifts all ships. All right, the giveaway. The winner is, drum roll please. And don't forget, we got our charity stream coming up. We're going to talk about that. Gary Con is now on the books. There is so much D&D coming. DM Dingbat! Oh, congratulations! He's been on a bit of a roll lately, and so you have the Gary Con dice. Those are coming to you. Communicate with me in Discord. I think I have all your information already, but just make sure it's updated. And with that, we're going to go ahead and raid Lord Gazumba, and we're going to raid him in 8 seconds. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Thank you for all your support here on Blue Box. We'll see you Sunday with a special Father's Day stream. It's going to be epic. Don't miss it on Sunday. Blue Box out.
That's when he's killing off all the dads.
It's the family group.
Okay. No, I don't want to end Looks Well Live.